Imagine a world where the bond between human and animal defies all odds. A world where a single act of kindness becomes a lifeline. In this incredible true story, a lioness, abandoned and on the brink of death, is given a second chance at life by a man who refuses to let her suffer alone. What happens next will not only surprise you, but will restore your faith in the power of compassion. Stay with us as we reveal how one man's determination to save a dying lioness turned into a heartwarming journey of love, survival, and hope. Across the parched grasslands of the Maasai Reserve, a skinny lioness walks silently. She was once a strong member of the pack, but now she is just a fading shadow. In every hunt, she was always pushed out with no food left for her. Injured after a collision with another lion, she was no longer able to compete for food. The scratches on her skin had not healed yet. Her stomach was growling, and her eyes were filled with despair. Every time the herd wins its prey, she only dares to stand far away and watch, then quietly leaves with nowhere to turn. She was forced to live like a vagabond in the parched wilderness. Her fur was ragged, each step was heavy, and each breath seemed to exhale its last hope. No one cared about her anymore, not even her own kind. They even threatened her. The lioness decided to leave the area, going far away where no one belonged. She follows a trail that leads to the steep cliffs west of the reserve. Thirsty and exhausted, she searched for a puddle or some wet trail. As she approached the edge of the rock, her hind feet slipped into the damp moss clinging to the surface. Her heavy body could not keep its balance. She swayed and fell into the abyss. The fall wasn't high enough to kill her, but was enough to cause pain and panic. She tried to climb out of the hole, but the slippery cliff made all efforts hopeless. Half submerged in water, cold and dark, she groaned in fear of being abandoned. One leg was sprained, her stomach was empty, and her claws were bleeding from trying to cling to rocks. She cried out, the moans fading as her body weakened, and her faith almost drained. The sun was setting. Darkness fell over the place where she was trapped. Cold and hopeless, with no one of her kind coming to her rescue, she could only hope for a miracle. She lay there panting, eyes staring up at the edge of the abyss as if waiting for someone to appear. Then, a strange noise on the cliff startled her, and hope rose. Ranger Samuel Tabo was driving along the cliffs as he did every morning. He is a man who has been attached to Medique all his life, knowing every sound and smell of the wind here. As the car turned off, he heard a strange sound, like a faint groan from the bottom. Stopping, he walked to the edge of the rock, leaned over, and looked down stunned. Under the rock was a lioness, lying limp in the dark water. Her eyes looked up at him, weak but still filled with wordless pleading. Samuel immediately whispered, "Don't be afraid. I'm here. I won't leave you alone." He called the walkie-talkie, but the signal was weak, and he could not contact the central station. Without hesitation, he took off his hat and lay down on the edge of the cliff to comfort her. His gentle voice seemed to calm the lioness. She growled softly, then lay still, looking at him with eyes following his every move. "Wait for me. I'll pull you up," Samuel said softly and slid down the edge of the rock. No ropes, no rescue tools, just determination and strong hands. The wind began to pick up, but he kept his eyes on the shivering animal below. This was not the first time he had saved a wild animal, but it was the most emotional time of his life. Samuel bent down, grabbed the lioness' front paw, and tried to pull her up little by little. The lioness did not resist. Instead, she cooperated slowly, as if understanding what was happening. His body was tense from exertion, drops of sweat dripping onto the dry, cracked stone edge. After a few minutes of trying, half of the lioness body was brought to the edge of the rock. Samuel held on tight, using his knees to keep his balance. Just a little more. He leaned forward, gathering all his strength and giving one last tug. The lioness's entire body slid down the stone floor, panting beside him. Both lay in the hot sun, exhausted but alive. Without waiting long, he called his colleague to bring a veterinary truck to pick her up. Putting her on the stretcher, he kept eye contact to reassure her. At the sanctuary's clinic, the veterinarian immediately checked her condition. The conclusion: she was exhausted, severely malnourished, and had a mild sprain in her right leg. Samuel asked for permission to keep her for self-care under medical supervision. She was not just a lion to him. She was a life that needed protecting. From that day on, he named her Luma, which means light in Swana. Every day, Samuel came, sat by the cage, fed, and talked to her like a kind father. Luma was wary at first, but then began to take food from his hand. Regular meals helped her body start to recover quickly. After 2 weeks, the wound healed, her fur began to shine, and her eyes gradually came to life. Luma began pacing around the cage, even rubbing against the bars when she saw him coming. Samuel could clearly feel that she was no longer the weak lioness she once was. A month later, doctors confirmed that she was completely healthy and could be reintegrated. But instead of returning her to her old pride, Samuel proposed pairing her with a lone male lion. The management agreed, and the fateful meeting was about to take place. Luma was taken to a separate area where a male lion named Nuru lived alone. They looked at each other, didn't growl, just walked in a circle and sat close together. The beginning of a new beginning. This time, not alone. Samuel watched from afar, his heart warming as he saw Luma had a new companion. In the early days, the two lions hunted, played, and lay next to each other under the shade of trees. The feelings between them developed naturally without force, as if they were made for each other. 3 months later, the doctor announced that Luma was pregnant and in very good health. Samuel laughed when he heard the news. He did not expect his little girl to recover so miraculously. He asked for permission to build a separate buffer zone so that Luma could be cared for throughout her pregnancy. Nuru was also kept nearby, so as not to stress Luma. Nutritious food, regular checkups, and constant attention. Luma was cared for like a real mother. By the 4th month, her belly was clearly swollen. She slowed down and often rested under the shade of trees. Samuel often stroked her back and whispered to her as if he were talking to a person. Early in the morning of the 160th day, Luma gave birth to 3 healthy lion cubs in a sheltered enclosure. Nuru stood outside, looking in with a fatherly gaze. Luma licked her cub's fur gently. Her eyes still darted around for Samuel. As he entered, she looked at him with deep gratitude. 3 little lions were born, a testament to strength and unconditional love. Samuel named the 3 lion cubs Tomo, Dinio, and Pico, meaning hope, grace, and gift. Luma now lives in the semi-wild with Nuru and her 3 children, safe and peaceful. Visitors to Medik always hear about Luma, the lion and his savior. Samuel still visits Luma's area every day, carrying a quiet pride. Life in the wild is harsh, but here, love works miracles